All right, well, good morning and welcome to the second training in a four-part series that we're doing here at IPA. This is a new style of training that we have begun trying to orient towards the individuals in the process so that you don't have to sit through trainings that may not pertain to you. So we're really trying to target specific trainings to individuals again in the process. This particular training again is number 2. And it is about the IFA funding reservation process, the rate lock process, and then the pre-close compliance approval process. So I'm Beth Mahaffey, the Business Development Director, and with me today I have Sherry Crone, the Program Manager, Rhonda Kimball, Loan Production Specialist, and Deb Haug, our Director of Single Family Production, will also be joining us. So please feel free. We're going to open up for questions at the end, but we will ask that you hold your questions until the end because Sherry is going to actually walk through the entire process of reserving a loan today. So we're going to try not to break the flow of the process up. So write down your questions and save them for the end, please. As I mentioned, this is the second in a 4-part series. So this is actually the how. On Wednesday, Deb Haug presented the what. So the Wednesday training talked about the different products that we have, the programs that we have, and how to determine what is the best use for your home buyer. So we aren't going to discuss that today. We're really going to talk about the how and how to reserve the loan and the interest rate, and if you need to make a change, how to do that. But if you do need to learn about our products and our programs, we do have the presentation from Wednesday on the website along with the resources, and we will have the recorded version out there shortly also. In addition, we'll be adding the resources from this training to the website after the training, and we'll be sending them out to you. We didn't send them out ahead of time because we wanted you to pay attention to the process and not look at your training packet. So the training packet will come out afterwards in addition to the recorded version. So we'll have to take a look at the recorded versions and do our edits if necessary, so it may take a little while to get those out there. In addition to that, I just wanted to mention that we have 2 more trainings in this 4-part series coming up. So that will continue to talk about the how. We will have a training on Friday, December 4th at 2 p.m. that'll talk about post-close submission to IFA. And then the final in this 4-part series will be Wednesday, December 16th at 9:30, and we'll cover the delivery of loans to our master servicer. So the Idaho Housing and Finance Association will be doing most of that training. So please hop on our website and sign up for those. I'll also include a link to those trainings when I send out your email and your training packet at the end. So as I mentioned a little while ago, your learning objectives for the training today are how do I lock funds for an IFA product, what are the rate lock parameters, how to upload a pre-close compliance package, what to expect after the upload, and then how to change a reservation in case you need to make a change later on down the road. With that, we're going to jump right into our product reservation and rate lock policy prior to Sherry walking you through the how to reserve a loan. So this is available on our website, and I wanted to walk you through that process just so you knew where these resources were. So we are on iowafinanceauthority.gov, information for lenders, and you'll go down to forms and resources, if I can get my mouse to cooperate. And here you'll find just a plethora of information and presentations and resources. But I'm going to look for our rate lock policy, which now I'm going to scroll down. I'm missing it. There we go. Product reservation and lock policies. All right. Make it so you can see it and I can see it also. And I have asked everyone in the room to hop in if they have anything to add. And again, we'll be sending all this information out after the fact, so please reserve your questions for later. But we'll walk through this real quickly before Sherry starts the process of reserving a loan. So we have 2 columns to start with. The column on the left is regarding our mortgage program, so First Home and Homes for Iowans. And the column on the right is regarding our mortgage credit certificates, which we have named Take Credit, which will be available again in early 2016, so watch for that. And then our Military Homeownership Assistance Program. So funding for our first mortgage programs, that's First Home and Homes for Iowans, is always available on a continuous basis. And that is one of the purposes of the Iowa Finance Authority, to be here for funding at any time. So even if the economy is bad, we're here with funding for first mortgage products, thereby, continuing the economic growth in Iowa. Now, in the Take Credit, Mortgage Credit Certificates, and Military Homeownership Assistance Programs, the funds are limited. So there will be different parameters with these programs because the funding is limited, and it's available on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, the reservation of funds that Sherry is going to walk you through is only permitted upon the execution of a bona fide purchase agreement for the subject property agreement for the subject property and the borrower. We've had questions in the past, especially with the limited funding programs like the military or the mortgage credit certificate, if individuals can reserve ahead of time. But you do have to have that bona fide purchase agreement for the grant products and for the first mortgage financing. The funds may be reserved for both the first mortgage products and for the grant products in the MCC in Lender Online, and again, Sherry will walk you through that. Now, the reservation period, and I want you to really think about this, the difference. So the reservation period for the First Home and Homes for Iowans, so our first mortgage financing products, the reservation locks the interest rate, and it locks that interest rate for 60 days. And the loan must close before the expiration of that 60-day reservation period to receive that locked rate. In a little bit of difference, the Take Credit Mortgage Credit Certificate and the Military Homeownership Assistance Program actually locks the funds, not the interest rate. This loan also must close, though, before the expiration of the reservation period to receive the funds. So again, one's locking the interest rate and the other is actually locking the funds. Again, because those funds are on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, if the reservation expires, they will be canceled by IFA. So if it's the first mortgage programs, so First Home and Homes for Iowans, then they will be canceled by IFA and are subject to the RELOC policy for the next 90 days. Reservations that are more than 90 days out, beyond that initial expiration date, will be considered a new reservation. And then expired reservations in the Mortgage Credit Certificate and the Military Homeownership Assistance Program are subject to the RELOC policy also. Again, remember, there's limited funds in those programs. So the RELOC policy for the First Home or Homes for Iowans programs, those first mortgage financing programs, again, that are continuously funded, they may be relocked at IFA's discretion when that loan is within 10 days of closing. Similarly, the Mortgage Credit Certificate and the Military Homeownership Assistance Program can be locked at IFA's discretion within 10 days of closing. Now, again, remember that the rate is locked for the First Home and Homes for Iowans program. So when the rate is relocked, it will be relocked at the higher of the initial rate or IFA's rate for the same product on the date of the relock request. So that would be the higher of. The relock for the MCC or the military is contingent upon that availability of funds, so if there's still funding there. To make a relock, and Sherry's going to walk you through that also today, but you must make the relock request through Lender Online, and there's a form there. Sherry will show you that form. And then you also need to send an email that you have notifying IFA that you have made that request for the relock. Then also for the First Home and Homes for Iowans programs, there is the option of a reprice fee. This is a little bit different situation we're talking about. But in this situation, IFA might agree to purchase a loan that closed at a lower rate than was available through the through the desired IFA product at the time of the rate lock. But the lender is subject to a reprice fee, and that reprice fee is 1% of the loan amount for every 0.25% variance from IFA's rate as of the date all purchase conditions are cleared. And again, if you have questions about that, we can talk about that at the end, but we're going to move on so that Sherry has plenty of time to walk you through the process of reserving a loan. Anything else anyone wants to add? Deb, anyone about the relock policy? Okay.
No, I think you did a great job. Thank you, Beth.
Okay. Let's actually pass over to you, Sherry. Okay, I'll let you do the whole thing.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. We are going to take you through the reservation process and the pre-close upload process this morning. But first of all, before you actually make a reservation, hopefully you are working through the application and determining program and product eligibility with your loan officer and the appropriate people in your department. And to do this, you should be using all of those resources that are listed here in Lender Online, or on the website. They are also in Lender Online for you, and you can use them to determine the income, noting the difference between qualifying income and IFA eligibility income, because as you know, we must use all gross household income coming into the household, and we do a 12-month projection going forward. So we're going to use all bonuses, overtime, pay increases, etc., and that may differ from your underwriting income. You should also be determining at this time the need for the down payment and the closing cost assistance, and ensuring that you can fully utilize those funds, either the full $2,500 or the full $5,000, so that your borrower can take the full benefit of those programs if you determine that that is what is actually necessary. So to access Lender Online, you do need a username and password, and there is a lender administrator within every shop who is responsibility for providing that for you. And if you don't know who that is, you can contact your loan production specialist, and they can let you know who that is within your office. So in order to log on to Lender Online, you go to our website, and you go to the Information For tab, and then go down to the Lender screen. And there's two links here. One is for Lender Connection. That is actually the Master Servicer's portal, and where you will upload part of your post-close package. IFA's portal is currently called Lender Online, and here is the link for that. And so you will use your provided name and password. Okay. And then you have the ability to make reservations, upload packages, both pre and post close, and do some other things within this system. So first, we're going to walk through the reservation process itself. So you make a new reservation by clicking here on the New Reservation tab. And you have the ability here to select the appropriate program. So First Home is first, and you can see in there, if I can get my mouse to work, the differences between the government products that we offer as well as the conventional products we offer. So we abbreviate First Home with FH. I know there's been some question about that, so I wanted to point that out. So there's a different reservation depending on your loan product. So an FHA with First Home, and First Home RD, First Home VA, and then the First Home program with the various plus grants on the government side. And then we also have the conventional loan products here, the HFA Preferred, the First Home Plus with the HFA Preferred, and then the No MI Risk Sharing and the Plus with the No MI Risk Sharing. Likewise, you can also select Homes for Iowans the same way. And things stay the same there. So the various products with or without the plus, and government versus conventional. And then finally down at the bottom you see the military grant. If the MCC program was active and you were an MCC lender, you would also see the MCC reservation capability here. So it's important to note that there are separate reservations necessary for the First Home, the Homes for Iowans. If you're using the military grant, that's a separate reservation. If you're using the mortgage credit certificate program, that is a separate reservation as well.
I was just going to mention, Sherry, did you happen to, and I don't know, did you talk about if they don't know where their password is for Lender Online? Did you talk about that at the beginning and I missed it? Okay, I stepped out, so sorry.
Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and make a reservation. We are going to couple that with the military grant, but in the interest of time this morning, I already made the military reservation, so there's no sense in necessarily taking it twice, although I will point out some of the differences as we make this reservation. So this is clearly a first home FHA reservation, and it's going to be a 203B. Everything with a red asterisk by it is going to be a required field. If you are new to the system, you can click on Show Help, and it will give you a definition of everything that is required for a particular field. Then when you're seasoned, you can easily hide that. So our loan amount, and I have to go back to my military reservation so I make sure I enter the same. And you would want to do that as well. I will point out that if you're making a military reservation here, the loan amount is actually the grant amount. We're making a first home reservation here, so the loan amount is going to be the actual loan amount. If you enter a loan amount in the military reservation, you're going to get an error message that tells you it's not eligible. So the maximum in the loan amount section for a military grant is $5,000. Okay, so we will, I'm trying to find my loan amount here. Someone want to read this to me? $65,000? What? That's the purchase price. Wages. Oh, well. I'm just going to guess. Oh. Okay, your term is always going to be, well, it's either going to be 360 or 300 months, depending upon your actual term, because we do allow 25 and 30-year mortgages. And then your interest rate is going to coincide with what is current at this point in time. So currently it's 3.625. You can enter these fields if you so choose. Some lender shops do. It simply depends on your own individual policies, but it's not necessarily something that we require right now. And so first name for your borrower. We're going to do I'm a good borrower.
Everyone has good borrowers.
That's right. And the Social Security number. Date of birth. And these are drop-down boxes as well, so if you don't exactly know what you're doing, you can click on those and it will give you the selection. If you know the credit score, you can enter it. This is a fantastic borrower. And then the current address is obviously where they're living now. And they live on Happy Street.
Why would they ever leave?
County. Now, if you had a co-borrower, you would check this box, and then the co-borrower's fields would pop up. In this instance, we're not going to do that. They're the exact same thing. So purchase price, acquisition cost automatically pops up as the same, 9 times out of 10. That's exactly what it is. You can enter the appraised value now if you know it. If you don't, that's okay too. You do need to select whether it's a new, existing, or rehab, and we accept only new and existing. Your built is helpful. We only one unit in the first home program. In the military reservation, you will see the opportunity to do 2 or more units because that is allowed in that program. Detached housing. And then the new property that they're purchasing. County again. MSA, if you know if it's in an MSA, you can click on that, and if it is, it'll give you the opportunity to select it there. Census tract is a required field. If you don't have the appraisal and you don't know what it is, you can click on Find It, and it will actually take you to the census tract website where you can enter the address and find out exactly what that census tract is. And then you do need to select whether it's a targeted or a non-targeted area. There are 32 census tracts in 16 cities across the state in the first home and the MCC program, which are designated as target or non-target. So most of the time, what you are going to select will be non-target. If you happen to select target and it's not in a targeted area, you're going to get an error message at the end when you hit the submit button. So it's hopefully proof.
Sherry, can you explain how they would be able to find those targeted area census tracts?
You can find targeted areas and non-targeted areas on our income printout that is available on the website. And they are specifically listed on the MCC income limit list. So you can use them in first home, although we don't, it happens so few and far between that we don't actually advertise that. But there are higher income limits in the targeted areas that we will allow in the first home program if necessary. Okay, and then we enter the borrower's wages. It's important here to note that you'll find that this pretty much mirrors the 1003, but it's important to note that unlike the 1003, this system is asking for annual income as opposed to monthly income. So if you don't enter the annual income, the system isn't going to be able to do its validation checks against those income limits if you're only entering the monthly income. So just want to point that out for you. As you learned on Wednesday, we do count income from assets, and so in this particular instance, we're going to say that this borrower has $500 income from the assets that he has. And so you can see that your total household income over here is $40,500.
Also might add, and I know this is in the training on Wednesday also, but there are some resources available on our website talking about how IFA determines income, because it's eligibility income for our products as opposed to qualifying income.
Household size, and whether or not they're a prior homeowner. In the first home and MCC program, if you mark yes in this box, obviously you're going to get an error message because an individual does need to be a first-time home buyer according to our appropriate definition, which means they have not owned their primary residence at any point in the last 3 years. And I put a single man with a child in this particular application, so I'm going to fill these boxes out appropriately. We have one person under the age of 18, one person over the age of 18, one income recipient, one dependent. Okay. Now, if you were a lender, I don't have the capability here because I'm logged in under Iowa Finance Authority, but you will have the opportunity to select who the loan officer is in this particular field. That can be an important distinction between loan officer and loan processor. So we do prefer that you actually list who the loan officer is here, and then if you are a processor or making the reservation, that you put your own name here in the loan processor box. That can also affect how your loan officer sees reservations in Lender Online, because depending upon the role that they've been given, if they've been given an officer role, they can only see those reservations in which they are listed as the loan officer. So that kind of becomes important. And should the loan officer leave for some reason and the loan is picked up by another loan officer, you can contact your loan production specialist and we can change that internally for you so that new loan officer will be able to see that reservation. So then you can also enter this other information if you so choose. We do have all of the realty companies that we have come across over the years have been entered here in the system, so you do have the opportunity to select the appropriate real estate company. And then it is helpful if you enter the real estate agent's name as well. Okay, and once you have completed all those fields, we can use the submit button. And you can see this reservation is denied for the following reasons, because the borrower has an existing reservation or loan. So let's figure out what we did incorrectly here. And let's try and change something and see if we can get that to work. Oh, I need another one there, don't I? All right. So let's try it again. All right. So if you get error messages, such as I just did, you will get up to 4 error messages at a time, and that's all that will actually show on the screen. And then if there are more error messages than that, it will continue showing those error messages until you have resolved them all, and then you are able to submit your reservation as we just did. So there is a disclaimer statement here, which is not a bad thing to read through once in a while to refresh yourself of our policies and that sort of thing. You know, a reservation is only valid for the borrower and the property information entered. The reservation lock is for 60 days, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to read through it verbatim because you can do that. But you also then have the ability to click here to print the reservation, to view the reservation, or you can actually print this page, and then you can also click on the reservation page. So then you will get this, which lots of lenders print and save in their files. And you should be looking here to make sure, once you've made your reservation, that you have reserved the appropriate program, that you really want a first home FHA loan, and you didn't mean, you know, you wanted to reserve a plus, but you reserved this by mistake. So that sort of thing. So you want to be checking to make sure it's the correct program, it's the correct product, either first home, FHA, homes for Iowans. You know, just make sure that you're double checking these things when you're doing this. Okay.
And another item to note is that our system updates every 30 minutes.
Correct.
One common product issue that I want to bring up is that when you're doing a conventional, whether it's first home or homes for Iowans, and you enter HFA preferred, make sure that's the appropriate program you want. If it's no MI, make sure it specifically states no MI. We've had a couple situations just recently where the loan was supposed to be registered as a no MI, and it turned out and it was registered as an HFA. So that really can cause some issues down the road. So I just wanted to bring that up to everybody's attention to be sure and pay close attention to that. Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we've made our reservation and it's been accepted. We now have 60 days to close that loan. From this point forward, all of the work that you are going to do is going to be in this tab that says Loan Status. And you will be able to see, as I mentioned earlier, based on your role that you've been assigned in the system, various reservations. So from this point forward, we can see ours here, the I'm a Good Borrower. We can see the 100 series. So that's the first home reservation. And we can see the 300 series. That is the military reservation. So that's how you can tell between those two packages. There are separate transmittal forms. There are separate uploads required for each of these individual reservations, also with MCC if you're using that program as well. So the three numbers at the beginning will give you a very good trigger about what loan type that is, so hopefully you're uploading the correct package to the correct reservation. The 160 series is a Homes for Iowans reservation, and anything that's in the 800 series, 800, 801, 802, etc., is the Mortgage Credit Certificate program. All right, so from this point forward, we're going to look in Testy Tester.
Can I make a point real quickly, Sherry? Because on this screen, I'm a Good Borrower has different Social Security number under the military and the first home reservation, actually it would be the same Social Security. It will allow you to do the same Social Security number, but for our purposes of examples, we had to use different Social Security numbers.
Right.
So
yeah, so technically those should be the same.
Yeah. But if someone has another reservation, say for example they had a loan locked with another lender and they canceled that transaction, but the reservation did not get canceled, and then they came to you, that could come up where you would get flagged that you're trying to enter and you would need to contact us in that situation. So that error does periodically happen
right
in that kind of situation.
Yeah. Or if your borrower's first property fell through and you're now having to make a new reservation because it's a new property, you may run into that same scenario. And there's just an additional step that we need to take in the system to fix that for you before you can make a new reservation. So don't panic, just email your loan production specialist and we'll be happy to help you out. You can sort on this screen based on any one of these headers. So I'm not going to do it for you because the number of loans that I see is huge and it will take a long time. But know that you can do that. So you can do that by date, or you can do it by status, by borrower name. Some lenders do put in lender loan numbers, so whatever works best for you. So as I mentioned, from this point forward, we're going to do all of our work from the Loan Status tab. And the next thing that you would want to do after you've made a reservation is to use the PDF docs. And what the PDF docs do is provide you with all of the forms that might possibly be necessary for this particular loan and this particular loan type. So since this is a 100 series, that means it's a first home reservation, and therefore you see all of the MRB documents out here. You will also see the pre-close review transmittal and the post-close review transmittal, as well as a reservation change form, which can be completed over and over again if necessary, so that you can make appropriate changes to the system. The forms, when used here in the PDF doc section, will pre-fill for you based on the information that you have input into the reservation. However, it's important to note that if you're generating one of these forms and you're doing it at the beginning of the process, and then you make changes to the reservation, let's say you spelled the borrower's last name incorrectly, you're going to have to come back out here and print a new updated form. So you do need to be cognizant of that and just make sure you're aware of that. So let's just generate a reservation change form right now and see what it does. So you can see it pre-filled. The lender obviously is IFA, since that's where we are today. You have the reservation number, the reservation date, primary borrower. The rest of this information you need to fill out, we need to know who to contact to let them know that we have completed the change that they have requested. So we need a contact name, we need an email, and we need a phone number. And if for some reason it's not provided, we may not contact you or may not be able to complete the work until someone contacts us and asks the question, why isn't my work done yet? So those are very important fields to fill out. Below that, if there were any corrections needed to the form, you would complete these appropriately. You only need to complete them if there's a change that's needed. You don't necessarily have to complete it in each and every instance. Let's say you reserved a first home loan and you wanted to actually reserve homes for Iowans. We can make that switch for you. It's not something that you can do, but we can do it internally. And you would just select the appropriate box that you wanted the program to be switched to. And so we want to switch it to Homes for Iowans, but we want it to remain an FHA loan. And so we would complete that and submit that accordingly. Beth mentioned a relock request, and that relock request is completed here in this section. We do require a closing date, and we do only relock when you are within 10 days of a firm closing date. So we are going to ask for that date if it's not completed. And then if you need to cancel the form, that's here for you as well. And you print this, upload it to your system, and then you will upload it into the eDocs section, and we will actually go there next. All right, let's go back. I mentioned the transmittal form, and so let's go there and talk about that. As I mentioned earlier, there is a separate transmittal form for First Home and Homes for Iowans. There's also a separate one for Mortgage Credit Certificate and a separate one for the Military Grant Program. So again, you need to pay attention to what you're doing, where and when, and what documents you're attaching to each. Again, the lender contact information here is extremely important, as is the anticipated close date. So once again, we need to be able to email you and contact you if we have questions regarding your package or that sort of thing, you know, hopefully in an effort to expedite processing. So please make sure that you're filling those out. And what we're asking for in the pre-close compliance package is listed here. Homes for Iowans on the left-hand side, First Home on the right-hand side. Obviously, we're asking for a fully executed 1003, a purchase agreement with all addendum attached to it, third-party valuation of any personal property, and there's information regarding personal property out on those cheat sheets that we showed you on the website, so feel free to go out there. We're asking you to input what you believe the annual family income is, what the applicable income limit is for each program, and then to attach all of the verification of income forms that you may have. So VOEs, pay stubs, that sort of thing. Then this is where we start to differ. On the Homes for Iowans side, we're asking for the prior year's federal tax return, and that is used to validate income. On the First Home side, we're moving into those additional eligibility requirements. So we have the first-time home buyer status, whether or not they are a first-time home buyer, and that may be in the form of a verification of rent. If they are an exempt veteran, we will ask for additional information regarding that, their DD-214. And if it's a targeted area, then you're checking that box to let us know that it is a targeted area. And then we're asking on the First Home side, also on the MCC side, the federal tax returns for the last 3 years for all borrowers, spouses, and title holders. And that is used for income purposes and also to validate first-time home buyer status. A lease agreement if they are purchasing the residence that they are currently living in. A verification of rent if it's needed, if it's a manufactured home and it's leased land, or if there's a difference between the address on the 1003 and their prior year tax return, we would ask for a VOR. the DD-214 we mentioned, and then the MRB documents that are down here as well. So we do ask that you put those in the same order as what they are listed on the transmittal. We find that helpful. And again, taking note that there are separate transmittals for the military and the MCC program.
Could I just jump in again on the buyer status? That you're really only going to need to verify or provide verification for the status that box that you've checked. So for first-time buyer, you're only going to need to provide evidence of first-time buyer if you check that. That was their eligibility basis. You don't then need to also provide a DD-214, even if they are a veteran. You know what I mean? So you only need to follow those, and it looks a little longer than it is but you only need to pick one of those three in order to qualify them, and then you follow that particular verification method.
And while we're on the transmittal form, just a couple points I want to make. On the Homes for Iowans, next to the appraisal report form and the annual family income, while there's not an actual box to check mark, those are items that we do ask for to be in that pre-close package. We have had lenders where they didn't think that was necessary because the box wasn't there. So I wanted to point that out. And the other comment that I want to bring up is you'll notice on the right-hand side for the first home, the MRB docs. The only MRB docs we're looking for up front is the 01, 02, and 03. When Sherry was showing you the documents that were available, the MRB 04 for the writer, it does come up there as an option, but please do not have that signed up front. That is a writer that should be attached to your mortgage. So you want to make sure that that writer is part of the mortgage and dated the date of your mortgage. We've had some instances where they were done ahead of time, they were filed with that writer that was ahead of time, and it really is negated because it was signed prior to the mortgage.
Also, wanted to add, please have a complete transmittal and include the transmittal. There have been some instances where the transmittal has not been included, and that can delay your processing if you don't include that completed transmittal.
Can we talk about when you would want to take the step of uploading the transmittal form? What is the proper timing on that?
Well, we always would recommend that you are uploading your package to the Iowa Finance Authority at the same time it's going through underwriting, in the essence of just saving time and ensuring that you can meet that close date. We ask for at least 5 business days for review, but obviously if you can give it to us with additional time for review, that makes our lives a lot easier. But you need to take that into account and make sure that you're not uploading something the day before the loan is supposed to close. Obviously that causes panic and frustration on your end and our end as well. So keep those time frames in mind. So let's say now that we have uploaded or we've completed our transmittal form, we've gathered all of the appropriate information that we need. If you have questions regarding that, there's a document on the website called Eligibility Verification Documents, and that may help you find the specific document that we may be looking for. And at any time, you can always contact your loan production specialist. So you've completed the transmittal, you've attached all of the appropriate information, you've scanned it, and you have saved it on your computer. And now we are actually ready to upload it to the system. So the pre-close section is on the right-hand side of the page. Anything that is completed pre-close should be uploaded here. Post-close package is here, and that will be in the next training. So to add something new, you simply click on this Add New button. And then you say click here to upload a document. You can, and then you browse to find where you have saved it on your computer. And then you say upload. I think.
coming, I think.
Okay, so you can see now that it has been successfully uploaded. It does not mean it's been saved, it does not mean it's been named, and it does not mean that we have received it yet. At this point, you need to name your package. Either you can name it with a predefined name that we have out here. If you're uploading your entire compliance review package in one package, you can simply select compliance review package. If you are uploading things separately, we do ask that you name them appropriately. It's very hard for us if you name everything compliance review package. And lots of lenders upload the appraisal separately because they get those in PDF docs, which is much easier for you to do, which is perfectly fine. But if you're uploading your appraisal, please name it appraisal. And we have other things out here as well. If you find that one of those names doesn't fit and you want to name it a customized name, you can do that here as well, and you can type in whatever you want. If you want to give us any comments, you can add them in this box, and we will see them upon your upload. So in this particular instance, we're going to say this is the complete compliance review package. We're going to name it, and then we're going to hit the save button. And we get a message that says your changes have been successfully saved. Note it says saved. You're not done yet. So then you hit the OK button. And now you can see here the dates in which these packages were uploaded. But now you need to hit the Submit button. The Submit button actually is what updates our internal system with your upload. So you can see here, if there is no initial submitted date and time, you have not submitted that package. And you could risk delay in review of your package if we don't know it's there. So that's an important step. So we're going to use the Submit button here. And now you finally get the message, package submission successful. Spelled incorrectly, but it's there.
And can I jump in just for a brief comment? On the naming of your documents, we do have some lenders, and it does seem to work very well, so I would like to say this is more or less a best practice, would be to identify each item on your checklist and, the transmittal form that Sherry just before this reviewed. Name it what it is on the checklist, and then save it and upload it individually. And what you can do is just upload those all, and then when you have a complete package, hit submit, and then you'll have all those documents in there so that if you need to go back in and find them later, or our team is looking for a particular item, they can jump right to it and know clearly by the naming what it is and where they'll find it. So that does seem to expedite our review. It also may make it easier for you on the back end to just see what you've got in there without opening a 100-page document and having to scroll through and remember what your processor put in there or what have you. So I would say that is our preferred method and our best practices, and at some point we may create document names that mirror exactly the checklist. That does change periodically, so we don't have those in there now, but you are more than welcome to name them that way and save them and upload.
Some lenders also, if they do submit their packages in one entire package, will bookmark the PDF doc, which again makes it very easy for us to be able to find things, and you as well if you're looking for something after the fact. So once you have submitted everything, you will always be able to see out here, and you can open up these documents. So you can see exactly what you added, you can see when you added it, and you can see when you actually submitted it to IFA. So just know that these are out here. Lots of times we have questions about that, and they say, well, I uploaded it, but it's not out here. So you may want to double check these things after you've added them just to make sure that they're actually there. Okay? So once we have received our package here at IFA, we will review it for you within 5 business days. And we will send the contact person on the transmittal form an email when we have completed that review. So you're actually being notified twice. We actually update this system, and I'll show you that in a minute, and we send you an email. So you should be looking for those things. You can log in here at any time and look at the status of where that actually is in the review process. If you get an email back from your loan production specialist that says something is incomplete, then you need to upload additional documentation before we can actually provide eligibility and our response regarding your program compliance. If you need a commitment form, as you do for the PLUS, the military, or the MCC prior to closing, it will be attached to that email that comes back to you from the loan production specialist. Okay.
Another item of note, when Sherry was uploading the information for this particular loan, if there is a military, that needs to be uploaded separately, and the documents, they might be the same documents, but they will need to be uploaded separately to each loan reservation.
Okay. So you can see here, back in your loan status screen, you can see what the last stage was, and you can also see the status of that. So you can see that here quickly at a glance. This particular one I marked incomplete. You can also see the status as well as your conditions in this View button. This is just general information regarding the reservation, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see exactly what has happened on this loan. So it was reserved on May 19th. The pre-close package was received at IFA on 11/20. And we were Johnny on the spot and responded on the same exact day, and we marked it incomplete on 11/20. You can see the conditions that we have out here as well. So some of these items, so let's say this particular borrower was pretty close to the income limit, and so we needed to make sure that we have the child support information for this gentleman's daughter. So, and we need that before we can ensure that he's under the income limit. So we are asking for the child support stipulation. We're also asking for 2 additional items, although those are post-close. Obviously, the final executed 1003 can't generally come to us until it's post-close. We don't require the MRB documents pre-close. You can submit them post-close. They weren't provided pre-close, and therefore we're asking for them post-close. Okay, so again, rely on the information that you get from your loan production specialist. Know that while this says incomplete right now, if you submit a loan reservation change form and it's completed, this may change to response given to show that we've provided response to you on the loan reservation change form, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your package is complete and done. So really, it's probably best to ignore this status and simply rely on the information that you get from your loan production specialist. Okay? Then we talked about the commitment form that is sent with the PLUS, military, and MCCs. And I wanted to talk about that. You will receive that after we've made our review and we've determined that this person is eligible, at least up to the documentation point that we have received. So you will receive this or a similar document for MCCs, pluses, and military grant. There's a difference between a reservation and the commitment, and I wanted to point that out because it has caused some confusion in the past. So the expiration of this commitment is 11/21, which these are a little bit off simply because that reservation date was prior, but normally this would be 60 days after the reservation date. So it's the later of 11/21 of 15 or 30 days after closing. And what that means is the commitment of funds is valid for the reservation period, that's 60 days, and then allows you 30 days after closing to submit all of your post-close packages. It does not mean that you have until 30 days after the expiration date to close the loan. You still have to close the loan within this particular time frame. Okay? So I wanted to point that out here, and it's specifically says this commitment is null and void if the financing does not close within the initial reservation period, or if the commitment expires before a complete post-close package is submitted. So I just wanted to point that out for you because there's been some confusion regarding that in the past. Does anybody have anything else to add to that?
Right. I think one of just the key differences to keep in mind is that the reservation period or the lock period is the time you have to close the loan. The commitment period is the time you have to deliver a complete package for reimbursement in the case of a grant or purchase in the case of a loan. So that's the reason why there are two distinct time frames, and why you might have, like Sherry pointed out, that reservation expiration date be the actual commitment end date is in the event where you had locked a loan with 60 days to close it, but you close it right away. You close it within 5 days, say, of the lock. Well, then your date would be earlier than the other option. So that's why you would come into a situation where that expiration date could be your deadline for submission.
All right. I just wanted to, that's pretty much the pre-close process. We will go through the post-close process at our next training on December 4th. But I would like to point out that the post-close package is due immediately upon loan close, but no later than 10 days following the loan close. And any late uploads can affect lender compensation. So that's kind of an important thing to remember. So tune in on December 4th. I wanted to point some other things out here in Lender Online that you may find helpful. When we have the MCC program active and running, you can see the available funds that are remaining in that particular program here. You can't see it today since it's not active, but it will be out there when the program is active again. You have the ability to run reports in this system, and you can run demographic reports. You can also run reports on all outstanding conditions. So you might find those helpful, as well as the eDocs report, which allows you to print kind of an audit log of all of your uploads to all of your files or an individual file if you so choose. User accounts, obviously, is where you can go to change your user or personal information. You can also change your password. And then up here at the top is a series of menus. If you're ever lost and you don't know where you are in the system, you can always hit the home button and it will bring you back here. Obviously, you will only see your own lender shop out here. Bulletin board is where we post all rate changes and all necessary notices that need to go to lenders. There's always a flashing one that pops up here, which has the latest one. But if you want to have a history, you can go to this bulletin board, and they will all be listed out there. Program documents is where we also keep all of our forms. We mentioned in the PDF doc section that those pre-fill for you. But if you want generic forms that are also fillable and in the PDF format, you can come out here and get all of those as well. So some lender shops like to print them and keep blank ones. Some like to complete them individually, and for that reason, they are all out here for you. There's nothing in Servicer Docs since Idaho has their own lender portal. Marketing materials simply takes you to the website. There's a glossary, a help button, which can help lender administrators set up roles and do that sort of thing, so feel free to use that as well. And I believe that is everything I have. If anybody else wants to jump in or add anything.
Do you want to show them the reports for Master Servicer also?
I did want to add one thing also, and Sherry's talking about some lenders print off the forms. Just make sure you have the most up-to-date forms if you do that. If your lender shop prints off any forms, keep checking to make sure that there might be updated forms out there.
There's also a report out here that you can run that will show you all of the master servicers conditions. So Lender Connection, Idaho's portal, has that opportunity for you as well, but you also have the ability to do it from here. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. All right, and then I think we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah.
One more comment why Beth's going to take us back in there is going back to the loan amount. When you're making your reservation with the loan amount, make sure you're using your base plus your upfront MIP, VA funding fee, or RD fee. So you want to be sure you're using your total loan amount when you're making that reservation, with the exception of military, which is only $5,000.
Actually, time for questions. Okay. Thank you, Rhonda. Okay, I'm going to open up, see if we have any questions that have been typed. And then I will look at attendees to see if anyone has their hand up. Let's see. We must have done a really good job. I don't think I see any questions right now. Please, we would love to hear your feedback on the training today, and keep in mind to contact us with any questions, but really contact your loan production specialist if you have questions about the files or even about the programs or anything. We're all glad to help you, but really that loan production specialist should be there to help guide you through the whole process. If you have a question about who your loan production specialist is, that is available on the website, again, under the Resources tab. And I will also be sending that out with the training materials here at the end. Here are the contacts for our department. I'm going to check one more time to see if we have any questions.
Yeah, and maybe Beth, while you're doing that, if I could just touch on something, I was saving it for the end in case there was a few minutes, but you know, early on in the presentation, Beth pulled up the rate lock policy for all of you and went through it, and you know, she did a great job, and you have that to refer to now going forward when we are finished here. But there were kind of important words on there that we went through pretty quickly, and it had to do with the rate lock, relock, and the reprice policy. And I've seen a couple of situations come up lately, and it may be having to do with the changes with respect to TRID and disclosures, and that would be a lender coming in and saying, I locked a loan at a rate that you're not offering now, and I want to go in and lock it anyway because I committed to this borrower, I disclosed this lower rate to the borrower, now your rate has gone up. Can I just lock your other rate, go ahead and close my loan at what I disclosed, and pay you a reprice fee? And the answer is yes, maybe. You know, and you'll note that we have some discretion built into our ability. It will depend. Now, I will say we typically do apply our reprice policy, and I'm not aware of any instance in which we've refused to do that when it was necessary to help accommodate a borrower. But if the rate is too low to be pooled, because we do pool these and sell them as mortgage-backed securities, if it can't be pooled with our existing pipeline, that could be a scenario in which we would have to say, we can't purchase this. So that would be in a time when we would use our discretion not to reprice it, and you might be stuck with it. I just wanted to make that clear. We do want to let you know that we're reserving that discretion for a reason, and there could be situations where we actually couldn't do it. So we don't recommend, it's there as sort of a backstop if you make an error and it's a minor one and we can accommodate it. It's not meant to just sort of be an automatic factor in the cost of your loan and go ahead and assume you're going to get that. So we've seen more activity on the front end of choosing to lock a rate that a lender knows they're not going to deliver. And that is a little different from how it's worked in the past. In the past, we've seen it be as, oops, we just closed it at the wrong rate. We planned to disclose it and lock it at this higher rate, but it just got closed at the wrong rate. Can we still buy it? And those are the more the oops kind of scenarios we've seen in the past. But now we're seeing more of the front end question. And I just wanted to caution you about that. So that's the only closing comment I would make.
Anyone else? Okay, we'd like to remind you that there is a third training in this 4-part series that will be on Friday, December 4th at 2 p.m., and that will cover the post-close submission to IPA. And then the 4th training on Wednesday, December 16th, that will cover at 9:30 in the morning, that will cover delivery of loans to our master servicer. And then we also have already scheduled a training on January 7th regarding the 2016 mortgage credit certificates. So watch for that. You can always sign up for these trainings on our website. I also will include the links to these other trainings in the email that I send out with the training packet. And we appreciate you being our partners, and we appreciate you taking the time to educate yourself about our programs and the process. Please let us know if you have any feedback regarding the trainings, and have a wonderful weekend.